David E. Fitch states that when we think about anarchism, a lot of pictures come to mind. Hippies, communes, idealists, protests, and idiots who want to blow up everything in sight. If we're over 40, we look with suspicion when we hear the word anarchism. When we hear Christian attached to the term anarchism, we're even more suspicious. There are as many mutations on the label and definition of Christian anarchism as there are people writing and living this political theology. What is agreed upon is that for Christian anarchists, Jesus' teaching implies a critique of the state. So what do I mean by Christian anarchism? Or Christianity? Or any of the other names that this political theology uses? Dave Andrews offers the following definition, which I found most useful personally, both in academic and practical senses. Christianity is a noun. It's Christ-like lifestyle characterised by the radical, non-violent, sacrificial compassion of Jesus Christ. It's a way of life distinguished by commitment to love and to justice, working from the bottom to empower people, particularly the marginalised and disadvantaged, so as to enable them to realise their potential as men and women made in the image of God through self-directed, other-orientated, intentionally community groups and organisations. And it comes from Christi, for Christ, and anarchy, meaning the powers, as in principalities and powers. Anarchism famously has the strapline, no gods, no masters, no nations, no borders. This strapline is built upon the anarchist philosophy that the state is undesirable, unnecessary and harmful. And in terms of Christian anarchism, it's also seen as idolatrous. The term anarchy comes from the Greek words an, meaning without, and archos, meaning authority, sovereignty, realm. So it's without sovereignty, without overhead structure. Christianity has aligned itself with the state for nearly 2 millennia and used that alignment to force, coerce, oppress and marginalise anyone and anything that challenged the power and authority of the church and the church patriarchy. So is it any wonder that secular anarchists want nothing to do with this understanding of God? Christian anarchists often respond to the no gods motto by explaining that to view God merely as a master is to simplistically represent God as an autocratic ruler. But God is many things. God is creator, liberator, teacher, healer, guide, provider, protector, love, redeemer, sustainer, just to name a few. In Orange is the New Black, we see from the very beginning that the prison system appears chaotic. When Piper arrives at Lichfield, she discovers that the staff weren't expecting her. The information regarding the commissary checks they were given was wrong. The staff aren't trained properly in the use of the technology, and Councillor Healy admits that even after 22 years, he still can't work out how the system works. He says, I've got a crack dealer who's doing 9 months, and then I have a lady who accidentally backed into the mailman who's doing 4 years. When we begin to look deeper, we discover that in many respects, the guards oversee the prisoners, but are insecure and powerless in their personal and private lives. The women of Lichfield Pen often self-govern. This is seen through the secret rules. Red states in episode 2 of season 1, it might not seem like it, but there's rules in here. This is reiterated again by Miss Claudette when Piper is assigned to share her bunk. The prison has rules, but they often appear to take less priority to the rules that the women themselves instigate. The system that the prison operates within is corrupt and violent. Natalie Figueroa steals funds from the prison to support her lifestyle and her husband's Senate campaign. This causes resources within the prison to be withdrawn. The track is closed, the GED programme is shut down, medication is reduced, withdrawn and changed to generic versions, and the clinic hours are shortened. The prison guards find their salaries at risk and pay rises in threat, and find that these pay rises, if they're to get them, are attached to results in disciplining. Some of the guards see the women in the prison as their own free fishing pond, where they can demand sexual favours. The new guards are gentler than some of the more long-standing staff and believe that the women are no different from themselves. This unfortunately leaves them vulnerable to exploitation from both guards who view the women as other or less than because they committed a crime, and also the women prisoners who have found that the only way to survive is to subvert the system for their own benefit. The Sermon on the Mount is one of Christian anarchism's key manifesto passages, where Jesus expounds teaching after teaching regarding non-violent resistance against the state and religious demands. The women in Lichfield do not always take the path of non-violence, and for some, violent reactions to situations are the reason that they've been incarcerated. But violence is not the first response. Within the prison, there is a thirst for change. The Beatitudes appear in both Matthew and Luke, in slightly different formats. In Matthew, we hear, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you, and utter all kinds of evil against you, falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets before you." Dave Andrews rewrites the Beatitudes as follows: focusing on the poor, not status and riches; humility; grieving over the injustice of the world; empathy; getting angry but not getting aggressive; self-restraint; seeking for justice, not vengeance; righteousness; extending compassion to all in need; mercy; being wholehearted in a desire to do right; integrity; working for peace in a world at war; non-violence; suffering for just causes patiently; perseverance. As we see throughout, there are those who touch others through their humility, empathy, self-restraint, righteousness, mercy, integrity, non-violence and perseverance inside the walls of Lichfield Pen. The segregation within Lichfield is encouraged by the system, as we see during the campaigning for the Prison Rep Council. But as time goes on, we see that although not fully integrated, there is a higher level of integration between the groups. People pull together during times of great stress, sadness and joy, much to the consternation of the staff. Many of the women are vulnerable, to some extent powerless, and even victims of their own lives. As their backstories unfold, we discover women who for the most part are victims of circumstance and situation. Some were just naive or dumb. One or two were the predators in their worlds, such as V. But inside Lichfield, they're able to find strength, resilience and power that they never envisioned they could have. The women create families and systems of governance that the system has no control over and in some respects no understanding of. The system is broken. It is self-absorbed and idolatrous. The women of Lichfield have built a way of life distinguished by commitment to love and to justice. They are working from the bottom up to empower people through hearing and sharing their stories, not only with one another, but with the people on the outside, as we see when the journalists get involved with the story that is unfolding in season 1. The empowering of one another, particularly those who are marginalised and disadvantaged, enables them to begin to realise their potential through self-directed, other-orientated, intentional communities. Does the system have the power? Depends on how you look at it. Thank you.